Hey guys, Jeff here, and today we're going to discuss a topic that affects everybody out there, and that is clean, safe drinking water. Now, if you remember, I installed one of these products in my farmhouse a few years ago, and I love that product so much. Now that I'm renovating my forever home, I had to get one in here as well. Remember, clean, safe water is super important. If you've got the ability to manage your own filtration system, that's money in the bank. Today we're going to be installing the Springwell CF1 whole home water filtration system, and we're going to put a link in our video description, and when you get there, use the code RenoVision 10 to get 10% off your purchase. And if they're holding some other kind of a discount, that's good for you. The code will still give you an extra 10%. Folks, the Springwell system isn't just one size fits all, okay? They customize your system so you can get on their website, book a call like I did, and they can tell you exactly what you need for your home based on size of home, your water needs, are you on the city system, are you on a septic system with a well, and they will help you make sure you get the system that's right for you. Okay, so there are two steps to the installation of the system. First one is the preparation of the tank itself, okay? This is really important. You have to follow the instructions here or you're going to flush all of the debris that's in this tank into your water lines. So we got to do the carbon flush first. Now what that means is we're going to fill the tank with water, let it sit for 48 hours. Then we're going to come back and we're going to flush it in the reverse direction for a few minutes. Then we can install the system into your home, all right? So the process is simple. And like I mentioned before, you're going to get the directions in a very big pamphlet, all right? You can follow those steps. But what they don't tell you is to take a little blue cap out, all right? If you don't take the cap out, this little pipe right here, that's the pipe that our system is going to install over top of, all right? And so if you don't take it out, this gets shoved in here and jammed in and becomes an obstruction. You're gonna run into all kinds of problems trying to fill your tank. What we do here is really simple. It comes ready to go. All the gaskets are already installed. And whenever you're dealing with plumbing and threaded pipe, and you have a gasket, means you don't need to use sealants or threading tape or anything like that. You trust the gasket to do the job, all right? Now this is a very permanent installation, which means we don't want to just go hand tight. We want to use some sort of a torque wrench, okay? A pair of pliers is a great idea. And we're going to go like this. About 40 pounds of pressure, all right? That's something that everybody can do. Won't be an issue. And now we're basically set up. Now you'll notice on the top of this, we have an inlet and an outlet, which is marked really good. We're going to stick that on. Goes quite a few times, all right? And getting right in there, right in. We're going to engage the gasket. Go hand tight, and then grab your pipe wrench. Give it another 1/8, okay? A little bit of a snug, all right? There we go. Now we've got our assembly. Now what this is a bypass valve, all right? So let me just get this here. You can see what's going on. These arrows represent the direction the water's flowing, okay? So this is the inlet, and this arrow is going in this way. And then it goes down that pipe we showed, fills the tank, and when the tank is full, the water will then come out the outlet in the direction that this is going. And that's how we store this for the 48 hours. Actually, we turn it to bypass for storage. So anyway, long story short, here we go. Now, we've got a couple of these things we got to put on, all right? We're going to put the Teflon on before we attach this because we're going to want the Teflon tape in place. Break it off. We're going to push that in. We're going to be pushing that, boom, backwards to get the click, and then forwards again. All right, and then we have one for the other side. Same thing. These are permanent connections, okay? We'll get that in there. We'll give it that 1/8. When you're looking at a thread, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, right? In your assembly, they send you one of these. It's an adapter to go with the garden hose, okay? So this is the thread that matches this. Okay, and that is a receiver for garden hose with a gasket. Okay. Yeah, we'll take our garden hose and we'll attach that here. Hand tight, engage the gasket. Beautiful. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wait on the ladder by the handle. So as soon as I see the water coming out, I know the system's full. I can shut it off real quick so I don't make a mess. There we go. I'm just going to give that a minute. The garden hose is going to drain out the line a little bit. And then we're going to disengage the hose. And we're going to turn this to bypass. All right, there we go. And by doing this bypass, we're trapping any water that's in the tank from here to here, okay? And so then it won't be spilling as you're moving it around. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna roll it out of our way a little bit, and we're gonna leave this here for 48 hours. Woo. All right, guys, we're back 2 days later. Our carbon soak is completed. Now it's time for a carbon flush. All right, and that's basically this. We got the hose hooked up the same way we had it before. We're bringing water through the system. We're gonna take our valves and we're gonna move them back into their regular positions. So now the water's flowing through the tank. Got my daughter on a ladder in the other room. She's gonna do the shutoff valve for me, but we wanted to show you a couple of quick little things. One, water's gonna come out of here, it's gonna make a heck of a mess, right? So you can go to the store and buy one of these bad boys. It's a shark bite valve. It's a 1-inch thread, all right? And then that is a 3/4 PEX. Now, I've already got mine connected to a pipe, ready to roll. This pipe is designed to go into my condenser drain in the back of the room, which is what I'm gonna use for most of my flush. But you could also just use a pail and cut it a little bit shorter for your convenience. The idea is this is gonna keep the place from getting soaking wet. So now we're gonna start the clock and we're gonna flush this for about 3 minutes. All right, now you can go 3 to 5 depending. We can always do a test. You wanna run it till it's clear water though, okay? So that's the goal. So go ahead, Christina. You can open that up to 10 o'clock this time. All right, we're at 3 minutes. Let's turn the water off. Fantastic. I'm gonna go to bypass now. Oh, I always feel like I'm doing that wrong because they're actually kind of stiff. Now we're on bypass. That means the pressure is now released. So the hose is kind of draining out. We're gonna be taking the hose off and we're gonna reverse this assembly so that we can then back wash this thing, all right? You know, it's amazing. A little bit of Teflon tape and you can hand tighten this and it won't leak. Not a bad gig. Okay, now we're gonna flip this over. Okay, so now we got that reversed. We're back in position. Everything's tight. All right, and now we're gonna back flush. Now we're going in the reverse order, coming into the outlet. Now it should get rid of all them, whatever's left in there that needs to be cleaned out. We're gonna go another 3 minutes. This is a perfect time to check to see if you have a leak around here. Okay, there is one aspect of this assembly that's dangerous, and that because it has a O-ring. And when you're twisting it on, sometimes you can over torque it, okay? And if you over torque it, what happens to the rings is they go, and they flip up, and then they don't seal. Mine isn't leaking at all, so hand tight and just a little bit of a shot with that wrench was all I needed. Now, we're gonna switch this back to bypass again. The sediment filter, okay? In the box, you're gonna find this little white plastic tube. This is the lubricant for the O-ring. Very important. You can't just use anything. This is a little wrench here. Okay. This wrench is part of the kit. You want to have a storage place for it. Maybe throw a screw on the wall and hang it there later. Because these filters don't last forever. Okay. This is the filter. Nice and simple. Now, the O-ring is this blue thing right here. It comes pre-attached, okay? If it comes separate in your package, that's fine. Just set it in here. The key is to take this lubricant, break that little tip off, okay? And nice and simple, we want to just add lubricant to this O-ring for the exact same reason that we talked about maybe getting water leak around the top. This ring, if it's not lubed, it'll have torque and it'll be like compression. It'll grab the lid and it'll pull it up and it'll bend out of the way. And then you got a leak, okay? So we just want to get a little bit of this on here. Little drip, little dab will do, okay? Nice. And then just with a dry finger, run it around. Now with that side completed, I'm going to flip that over. And this stuff a little bit goes a long way, so this is nice. Now we'll set the top on. And again, avoid cross-threading, go backwards. All right. There we go, we're good. Now, a couple more things we want to do. We have some fittings we want to put on here. We want to just talk about the end from the beginning on this plan, because the idea here basically is that we're going to have water coming into this pipe, okay? Coming out of here, going into this, follow the arrows, and then out the other side. This is where you got to do a little bit of shopping, because we've got to solve the connection problem, because the fittings don't come in the box. So, in my local Home Depot, I found this beautiful 3/4 hose line. Has a 1-inch male thread. So, that connects to these. Great. And the other end is a 3/4 PEX connection. Now that works good for me because I have 3/4 PEX line in my house. All right, so I've also got some more 3/4 PEX, but I can't go from this pipe into here unless I convert this to PEX first. Okay, now in some places you can get this where it's a 1-inch line to a 1-inch line. I did not have that available. So what I had to do is I have to buy a 1-inch thread to the 3/4 PEX, which we used earlier on our pipe, and a brass nipple, 1-inch. That will go to this, and it'll go to this. Okay. Now this one is a 2-inch, and it's really tiny. It's kind of tight. So if you get a chance, get a 3-inch and give yourself a little bit of extra room. This about as tight a connection you're going to want to get ever. And we're going to want to put the Teflon on all of this because we're going from metal to metal and metal to plastic. So we're going to take this. And then we're going to put it in here. There. Till it sits in the groove. And then we're going to go hand tight. And then we're going to take our wrench. Okay. We're going to resist the temptation to torque the living daylights out of this thing because we're trying to get a good seal with a plastic harness. A plastic container. So because it's PEX, when the pipe is on, we can still tighten after the fact if we need to. But we want to save that tension until it's necessary. And that also means, on the other side, I need the same thing. So, here we go. That fitting is right there. It's a 1-inch. And that is the thread size. Okay, there we go. Now, let's just run through this. This tank is prepped. I got my Teflon on. This tank is prepped, sealed, gasket shut, ready to go. Nothing left but hoses and pipe. So before we start running all of our plumbing, one thing left to do with this tank is we're going to put our neoprene jacket sleeve on. It's like a wet diving suit. Oh, hey. Oh my, this is very sexy. Here we go. All right. Before we can get into the plumbing, we have to make a plan because I need a mounting surface. I want to have the ability to mount first my shutoff valve. That'll be important because I'm dealing with 3/4 inch PEX line. I grab myself a 3/4 inch PEX line quarter turn ball valve. All right. So I'm going to have my water line coming through here. I want to be able to mount this as my emergency shutoff for the whole house. This is a lot more convenient than crawling underneath my staircase. And that way I can have this tank over here. Boom. Water coming out, going into my other filter, which will be here. Right? So mounting. Yeah, I think we'll just center both of these. All right off this number here. Okay. So I've just placed a mark on the wall where I want to have the center line. And these handy panels, I mean, you gotta love this, right? So I've got a board all the way across here. This marks my studs. I'm just gonna take my pencil and mark my stud line down here. Okay, so pre-drill these. There's my center line, go straight up. Now I got my mounting panel. Yes, we are in business. So here we go. Here's our tools and equipment that we're going to be using. First of all, we've got the shark bite shutoff valve. Okay, we're going to be using a little bit of steel all around. This is to connect my valve to the wall. All right. We're going to be using some PEX tubes, PEX fittings. This is 100% plastic. We've used metal in past, but plastic works just as well, if not better. And then 3/4 solid ring copper. These are crimps. And here's my crimping tool. Now the next thing that we got to do is find out where are we going to tie in. This is going to change for everybody. So everyone that has a shutoff valve at their house, whether it's at the street or it's in their home, the first piece of pipe after it gets in your house or after there's a manual shutoff valve, that's where you want to interrupt, okay? So you're going to have to find that. In our area, we always have a shutoff valve inside the basement, right where the water leaves right where the water comes into the home. So that for me is on the other side of the building. Our plumber ran a 3/4 inch supply line all the way over to here, but I don't want to tie in here. What I'm looking for is to find where to tie in way before the manifold, because above the manifold it tees off and it goes down to my hot water tank. I want that water treated as well. So what we're going to do is further back the line, which is going to be in the other room. All right. And I've got to find a place where I can pull the water lines down and be able to get the crimping done. I found the location. So we're going to go set up over there right now. All right, guys. So here we are. Here's the old shutoff valve. Here's my water meter. Here's the old 3/4 pipe. And that's what my plumber put in. A nice little 1/4 turn shutoff. Wow, that is perfect. Next thing we do is we're going to go outside because I have no bathroom fixtures or kitchen fixtures in this house. And I'm going to release the water pressure from my faucet. Now, the valve inside is completely open at the hose babe inside. The main shutoff is closed, but that means that all the pipes in the house are still under pressure. So we are going to release that pressure right now. All right. The other option you have is to find it. There we go. The other option you have is to find another fixture in the house that's much lower than where we're going to be doing our surgery. And in my case, the only other option is a hot water tank. So you could put a pail under there and pull that release valve. That's another way to release the pressure. All right, so the last step is, if you consider this, we're going to be cutting at ceiling height here, and there's a whole spider web of pipes. So we want to have not just release the pressure, but release the volume. So now the pipes are still have water in them. We're going to use the overflow in the hot water tank here. We're just going to pull this open and get about 1 gallon of water out. And that should empty out the lines that are above my head. So when I cut into them, it's not going to be raining all over my face. You can hear that. That's the sound of all the water in the house and the plumbing loading into this tank. We're not looking for perfection here. We just didn't want to have that happen when I cut the line. I think I'm good. All right, time to move on. All right, so here I've identified my main water line, okay? This is where it tees off and goes back to the outdoor faucet. But I'm gonna be crimping this line. So you can see I've got to at least get that water line 3 inches down before I'd be able to do this job. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna release these clamps that are designed to hold the water line in place. They are really in there. Okay. Whew. And number 2. All right. That should allow me to get this pipe low enough where I can crimp it together. This will be the location that we're going to cut in, and then I'll be able to redirect this water over to the new spring well filter system. To do this effectively, we've got to have a pail handy because we've done everything we can to minimize the amount of water, but because I'm pulling this down, any residual water is still going to be in here. Let's hope for the best. And it'll drain from both sides. Whoa, oh crap. All right, let me get that under control here. There we go. There we are. And that's basically siphoning out the rest of the line. Okay. All right, so now we're going to take our 3/4 inch copper ring. We'll slide this over, and we'll put in our coupling fitting. Okay. We take our crimper. Remember, that's for 1/2 inch. That's for 3/4. We'll lay it up over top of it. Once you've closed that gap on these fittings, you're guaranteed waterproof forever. That'll never leak, period. Is we want to measure from here to the other side of this wall, because the spring well system's going to be mounted on the back side of this. So we're going to cut a piece of pipe at 33.5 inches. Okay, let's see what we got handy here. Too short, just perfect. 33.5. We're going to prep this pipe for the other side. Okay. There we go. Set that up, put it in the ceiling. Give that a connection. And then crimp this one. Good. Now we can get back in the other room. So what I'm going to be doing here is just setting this up, trying to keep the lines looking good, bring the PEX across here, mount this in this location, okay? And then that would be the new emergency shutoff right here in our mechanical room, all right? So let's get that done, and then we'll go to the next step. We're going to measure, kind of like a dry fit scenario here. We want to put this in the center of this board just so that it looks good. There's my shutoff. Okay, beautiful. I prefer to crimp as I go. Okay, it is really easy to forget if you've done a crimp. So every fitting, get it locked down, all right? Beautiful. The pipe goes 1 inch in, okay? So if you don't have the special tools, just take a tape measure, mark out 1 inch, put a black marker line on there, all right? And then as a homeowner, you'll know if you got the pipe in all the way or not. So this is open and this is closed, all right? You push it on, you twist and push, okay? And you won't be able to pull it apart. Because the PEX 3/4 line is not as common, they actually give you this little clip here, and you can use this as a removal tool, okay? So you can press that removal tool against the fitting while you pull the pipe the other direction, and it'll release. Now, one of the reasons why I added this board is that I could use strapping to mount my shutoff valve. So I'm just going to take a couple of lengths of my all-around, use my side cutters, and then I can effectively strap my fitting into location. There we go. Okay. Beautiful. All right, so we want to have this hose comfortable flex. We're going to just measure up. We'll cut it here. And that just slides right in. And I like this. I don't feel like I'm putting too much pressure on that hose. Okay, so we're going to go 1 inch for inside. I'm going to cut it at 3.5. All right, we got a system. Again, let's be meticulous with this. Mark the 1 inch line. There we go. Now we're going to use these great little pipe clamps. All right, okay. And you'll see that there's one end is longer than the other. Because this is going to be under pressure, we're going to put the long side here to resist pumping back. Put it on your pipe. Get it lined up so that it looks somewhat sexy. There we go. And we're just going to drive this in position. So nothing's rattling around. There we go. That's about as solid as the mount as you're going to get, right? Next step. I'm going to put the second hose line on. We get an idea of where to mount the height. Now, if we bring it from down here, remember, we're going to be doing a PEX to PEX connection, right? And so we could set that up where we just have a little elbow and a couple pieces of PEX, and that's fine. I just don't want to have it under too much torque. So that's good for me. So I'm just going to mark my center line. All right, and then the height is fine. That'll work. There's that. The reason I'm marking that is this is the mounting plate. It gets screwed together. There we go. Now, this is going to require an Allen key, so make sure you grab one because it doesn't come in the package. All right, here we go. 1 washer, 1 machine thread screw. Here we go, and we're going to just gently finger tighten first before you use any mechanical tightener with machine screws. Make sure that you're not cross-threaded. Just get a few threads in. It's good practice whenever you're doing these things with machine threads. Get a few in. Once you start tightening, you reduce the capacity of the rest of the threads to line up really well. So now that all 4 of these are in here, we can just tighten them all and put a little torque to it. All right, guys, now they come with a package of mounting bolts and washers. Hurrah. Hence the need for the plywood, okay? If you just have regular drywall, Lord knows if you're gonna have back in there. This goes with a number 13 size socket, okay? Brilliant, here we are. Pre-locate where we wanna put all these. Okay. Something like that. I'm just going to mark the center of every one of these big holes, and then when we actually do the install, it'll sit just a little bit lower. All right. In this kind of scenario, you're going to find that pre-drilling this is going to be money for you, because you're going to have to hold everything at the same time. Getting started is the difference between success and failure. Okay, there we go. If it's loose, you got room to maneuver. All right, now we're ready to go. Now we're going to finish the install. Rock solid. One more of these. We are almost done. There we go. Okay. All right, so now all we want to do is just kind of line up our locations. Go with my 1 inch here, and my line here, so I'm cutting here. And push and twist, push and twist. There we have it. Woohoo! Now, all I have to do is take this back up and intersect that same pipe. Now, I could do it right above me, but like I said, I have a crimping issue. So I'm going to put on a 90, lift this up, go back through that same hole, identify that other pipe, and then we're going to tie in on the other side. So I want to be coming back through here just above the same location. You gotta be kidding me. And measure 26. Now, if you remember where we interrupted the pipe the first time, it's because I had to tie into the existing. Now that I'm coming back here, I'm tying into this pipe right here above my head. So my goal now is I'm going to yank on that pipe, reach up and cut it, and then pull it back, and then trim it to the right size, and then take that pipe from here to connect it. So I've interrupted in the other room, ran it through the system, and then bringing it back to the 3/4 line before it hits the manifold and before it hits the hot water tank. Whew, wish me luck, because I am out of fittings and out of pipe. That's a little precarious, but you know, I'm making sure that when I pull this, I don't cut anything else. All right, get as much torque on there as I can. Get my snips back there as much as I can. Okay. And is it the right one? Beautiful. Okay, saved a trip to the store. Here we go. Now, I'm gonna yank this over here now. Get this pipe completely on this side. There we go. That's where it sits comfortable. I wanna line up from here. Something like that. And then back a little bit more. Okay, that's my spot. Boy. Oh, I love it when a plan comes together. Here we go. I was down to my last fitting, and I didn't have enough pipe to get all the way back to the original intersection point. So that is a good day at the office. Now we got to get this in here to get a crimp on. It's just barely gonna make it. Oh yeah, buddy. Now, we wanna get that rough to mate. Is that the one I want? That's my longest piece, isn't it? Okay, well, I need another crimp here. Had I been thinking, I would have put this elbow together first and done the one crimp up there. As it is, here we go. Okay. That is going to work just fine. Okay. Woo. Here we go. Last ring. Okay. All right. Plumbing in tight spaces can be a real pain in the buttski, but we are good. So here we go. We got water coming in. We have a shutoff valve on location. We're going to leave this closed for now, so we can first check the leaks if there's any leaks in the other room. Then we'll come in and we'll get this going. We're going to set the tank to bypass according to the instructions, which means the water will come in straight across and then through the sediment filter. And then we can pressurize the rest of these lines to identify if there's any leaks there. Once we've got all that taken care of, we'll go back to putting the water through the whole tank. And we're going to flush the system for another 5 minutes or so. And I'm going to have to use that hot water tank overflow again. It's the only thing I've got in the house that is actually attached to this. So this is my faucet right now, which is great because everybody needs to be able to have a faucet. All right, so we're closed here. I'm going to crawl into the stairs, pressurize the lines, and we'll double check the other room first. Yep, no problem in the other room. Okay. Now we got our wrenches on handy standby here because we do have a couple of compression fittings to take a look at. So the first thing we're going to do, we're on bypass. We're going to open this up slowly. We'll fill the line. Whoop. Okay, so this is why we do the test. There is a little vent knob thing here. Didn't know. I never read anything about it in the instructions. So I'm gonna just get a wrench in here and close it. So it doesn't leak. Started spraying all over me. Okay, and just for good measure, let's put the wrench on here and give this, whoop, I'll just go this way, okay. Ah, there we go. Let's try that again. Remember, I'm not just pressurizing the line here, I'm filling the rest of this tank before we can move forward. I have a leak from up here. That crimp failed. My attempt to crimp that angle up there failed miserably. That joint's leaking. So what I'm going to do is take this line off. Okay. Yes, it's going to be messy, but that's all right. And then I am going to cut at the manifold. Okay, because I have a coupler and I can put a coupling right here. That allows me to bring this down and crimp this properly. All right, probably should have done it right out of the beginning, but hey. Now, that is looking much, much more secure. I must have done something on a weird angle while I'm at it. I might as well do the one on the top as well. Now that I got so much better access. Yeah, that one was already fine. It was easy. Okay. But at least this crimp here is going to be accessible. Here we go. Now, we better get this right this time because there's only so many fittings and so many crimps or so many couplings you can throw in a plumbing system. That one's good. That one's good. Throw it back together now. And again. Okay. So the crimps are all good. The tank is filling up again. And like I talked about earlier, right here I got a little drip, and right here I got a drip. So this is not an issue because we're on a PEX plumbing situation. We can grab this fitting and then just tighten it until it stops. We're going to just switch this back to going through this filter. Okay? So now we're going through the filter, and the only place that I have a faucet around here is right here in my hot water tank. So we're going to run this for about 10 minutes, which means I got a pail brigade going to happen. I'm going to open this up and dump this out probably about 10 times. All right, guys. Right away, you can tell you don't have that nasty smell of the chlorine like you usually get. That's awesome. That's going to go amazing in my coffee in the morning. Well, guys, similar to the well system that I installed at my farmhouse a few years ago, I found this to be a pretty straightforward installation, even though I ran into my own troubles, all right? Now listen, I'm going to leave a link to the product in the video description, and viewers of this channel, we're going to get you 10% off, okay? And listen, if you have any questions about your house or your installation, hit me up in the comment section. And don't forget, follow along on our Forever Home series. We're only a few videos in, so you don't have much catching up to do. We have a new video coming out every Saturday at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you then. Cheers.